We are living in a computer-programmed reality, and the only clue we have to it is when some variable is changed and some alteration in our reality occurs. We would have the overwhelming impression that we were reliving the present, déjà vu, perhaps in precisely the same way, hearing the same words, saying the same words. I submit that these impressions are valid and significant, and I will even say this: such an impression is a clue that at some past time point a variable was changed, reprogrammed as it were, and that because of this an alternative world branched off.
All right, and welcome to the Monday Mashup. I literally just got up because we had an earthquake here at about 5:30 this morning, and it was a banging earthquake. Let me tell you, it was only about a between a 4.0 and a 4.3. They haven't really come to the consensus around what that was. But it was big. It was big. It was less than 10 miles deep. It's 5.5. And it was not far from my house. The epicenter of the quake was located between Richmond and El Cerrito. There was another quake that happened right around the same time near Belvedere, which is on the other side of the bridge from where I live. So I was in an earthquake sandwich this morning. If you've never been woken up by an earthquake, let me tell you, a little something. It's not your typical alarm clock. And I woke up just before the earthquake happened. Like most people, well, there are a lot of people who I read. It was a big push on Twitter today, and a lot of people I read their Twitter results or their tweets was that they had woken up just prior to the earthquake themselves, and I did too. It was very intense. It was very, very intense, especially for my house, because my bedroom is subterranean. So I have a 2-story house, and my bedroom is built into sort of the foundation and also the kind of the wall of the earth. So my bedroom is literally 3/4 of my bedroom is surrounded by earth and big beams and posts. And this earthquake just torqued my bedroom. I mean, torqued it. I felt it. It knocked stuff off my walls. It was unnerving. So anyway, I got up. I tweeted about it a little bit, and I was tired. Because I did the show last night, and I don't know. I love doing these shows, but I got to tell you, to get on the radio and talk for an hour and a half straight and make your thoughts cogent, it takes a lot of energy. So after a show like last night, where I did really an hour and a half, I was pretty burnt out. In fact, I stayed up for a while, and I did some work that wasn't related to really anything important, but I had to do it. So I got to bed pretty late, and I had like 4 hours sleep. I was tired. So I needed some more sleep, so I went back to bed. And I went back to bed at about 7. And I woke up at 9:30, so it's 2.5 hours more of sleep. I'm a little tired now, but it's okay. I haven't really been able to prepare for the show. I haven't had coffee. I may actually play some music at some point just so I can get up and make a cup of coffee. That's an old disc jockey trick, by the way. Larry King talks about how he put on a long playing record and he hit repeat. This is back in the days when Larry King was a disc jockey, radio disc jockey. I'm sure he's got to start. And he back in the day, you could have a function on your record player which would repeat a track. And I think he put on a very long track, and he had to repeat like half a dozen times. He was a late night disc jockey. So there was a chance that very few people that were very important were going to hear what was going on. And apparently there was a woman who really liked his voice, and she propositioned him while he was on his shift. He talks about this, and he put this song on, and it must have played at least a dozen times. It was a long song. He raced over, had a little midnight connection with her, and then went back onto his show. I think one of the people from the station found out about it, and I'm not sure what he used as his excuse, but it's an old DJ trick. Play a long song, play Stairway to Heaven, go out and have a smoke and a cup of coffee, come back. I'm going to do it today, by the way. So when I play a piece of music, it's because I'm going to get up and get some coffee, because I haven't had any yet. It's hard for me to do this without coffee. I'm not a victim. I'm just letting you know. All right, so I did a post on my site on Friday with Rush Limbaugh. And I put a post up on Facebook about it, and a lot of people got in my face. And, good. I'm glad. I'm glad they got in my face, because it's good that people have a pulse. And the overall tone of my post was, here's my thing, all right? It's like, I don't know what it is about me, but I don't mind groups of people, but I can't stand sometimes the cattle call when it comes to group thinking. Never liked it. And I'm not always the best person to be in a group, because I will not always go along with the tide. And maybe that's an Achilles heel on my part. Maybe I'm just a reactionary. I don't know. But if there's something that I feel good about and I'm into it, yeah, fine. Like, I'll give you, for instance, like, I'm starting to change my tune a little bit about Foster, Gamble, and Thrive. I was suspicious at the beginning. I think it's okay to be suspicious. Who is he? Where did he come from? We have no history around him. We have to vet somebody like Foster Gamble over time. Relationships are based on trust. The ones that you have in your life on a day-to-day basis, and the more abstract ones in the quote-unquote media or this multimedia world. Why do people come to my website? Because they've evolved some level of trust with me. That's why. They trust what I have to say. They trust that my thoughts have been thought out. They trust that I'm generally fair. They trust that I'm not a sellout. They don't really have an agenda. The only agenda I have is to wake people up to the best of my ability. That's my only agenda. And maybe if it's filtered or skewed through my lens of perception, so be it. But that's the only agenda I have. I'm not here to push any agenda with the exception of the wake-up call. But it's my version of the wake-up call. Well, let's get that straight. Okay, so when I see on Facebook hordes of people, a lynch mob going after Rush Limbaugh, it speaks to the power of Facebook, number one. Hey, great, use it, fine, great. But what I saw was a lynch mob mentality. And does the guy deserve it? Sure, he deserves it. You know, he's a pompous ass. Okay, he plays to his listenership and his demographic, and he said something that was incredibly out of line and disrespectful. Okay, I'm not dissing that. I'm not defending the man. I'm not even defending what the man said. So let's get that straight. All right. You know, I took a stance, and my stance was, you know, oh, this is great. You're going after a guy who is really, you know, a piece of very low-hanging fruit, and you're taking a howitzer to him. Well, good. Well, and when you're done with that, take it up a few more branches, okay? Because it feels like people are going after Adolf Hitler right now. And do I think that Rush Limbaugh is Adolf Hitler? No, I don't. Do I think that he promotes a venal type of consciousness and awareness? Sure he does. But the worst part is he's a fucking gatekeeper, okay? Get that into your brains, people. He's a gatekeeper. That's why you should be taking him down. And maybe this is good. Maybe this is how you take a gatekeeper down. But it's not because of what he is espousing about the truth or the lack thereof. It's because he called somebody a name and people took offense to that. And that's why he's going to, will he lose his job? Maybe. Do I care? No, I don't care. But I find it fascinating that the United States and NATO can just waltz right into Libya, a sovereign nation who didn't do shit to anyone, and have their little, you know, phony revolution, and go in there and decimate an entire nation, steal their gold, soak it with depleted uranium, and send them back into the Middle Ages, and nobody says shit about that. They hunt down Muammar Gaddafi, who actually had a vision for Africa, and nobody says squat about that. And Hillary Clinton dances on his grave and laughs and mocks him and his family, and nobody says anything about that. That's okay. But somebody says a name, call somebody a name, and now you want to take his balls off and fillet him and parade him through the streets. You people are zombies sometimes. I swear to fucking God. How's that? How's that for a little emotional content? And I haven't had my coffee yet. Fine. Fire the guy. Feel good about it. Take somebody down. Meanwhile, Jerry Sandusky gets to hang out with kids and drink coffee. Where's your outrage about that, people? I have friends who I have offended. I am sorry if I have offended them by taking this stance. It's not personal. In your comments, I do not find or take personal. Maybe I should take them more personally. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm the one who's the insensitive lout. Okay? Maybe that's me. I don't think so, though. I don't think so. So do me a favor, okay? Go out and take Rush down. And when you're done taking Rush down, sharpen your knives and get on your fucking case and take somebody else down that matters, all right? Don't parade around like you were just vindicated, like your raison d'etre and your ideology has been vindicated, because it hasn't. You've been given a sacrificial goat, is what you've been given. A straw man, a wicker man. That's what you've been given. Know the difference. Know the difference. All right. I'm touching a pencil right now, and I'm touching the eraser of a pencil. Whatever happened to erasers? Can somebody answer me? I think really the next big conspiracy should be the eraser conspiracy, because erasers don't feel like erasers anymore. And you know what else? They don't work. Erasers don't work anymore. And they don't really, you remember the old days, you had that orange gummy eraser, you know? And you actually were able to wear that thing down. These erasers are like, they're like bullet tips, and they don't work. It's like, why even have them on a pencil? Just take them off the pencil. That's my gripe of the day, erasers. Maybe that's symbolic. But if you can't erase things, why even have them on a goddamn pencil? That's my opinion. I'm confused about it. I'll tell you another beef I have. Handicap spots. I'm going after them today, man. I don't know what's in the air. Handicap spots. There are too many handicap spots in front of stores. You ever go to Costco? The first half mile of parking spots are all handicap spots for the people, and they're all for the people that ate too much and can't get out of their cars far away and have to take those little cars that they provide for you at Costco. Go on a diet, people. God, I don't know, maybe the spirit of Rush Limbaugh's come over me. Maybe I am Rush Limbaugh. I don't know. Maybe that's really it. Maybe the real me's coming out. Now, the funny thing about handicap spots is that whenever you see a handicap spot, don't tell me you haven't done this. You watch the people that come out of the car with the handicap spot just to see how handicapped they really are. I know I do. I've got my own little meter. It's like, oh man, that dude's really handicapped. He deserved that spot, right? How many times have you done this? Or somebody else pulls into the handicap spot and they get out and you go, what? Why do you have that spot? You're getting around just fine to me, you know? Haven't you ever had that moment? I have. I know I have. I feel like I need to put a cap around this Rush Limbaugh thing. I think it's because, for me, I think we all see injustice in our society, and we all see it in different ways, with a different lens. And do I think that he is somebody that is adding to our experience of truth and of right livelihood? No, I don't. I don't. In which case, whatever happens to him needs to happen to him. And I'm clear on that. But I just believe and think that there are other reasons and other motivations that people need to take into consideration. It's a very emotional button and trigger that is being used right now to rile people up. Very emotional. And the administration, by the way, is loving this. Why are they loving this? Because it makes them look good by comparison. It makes their policy look good by comparison. That's why they're loving this. This is a win for them. And I don't feel great about this administration. I don't know how you feel about it, but I don't feel great about it. They've abandoned the people. Now, you're getting a lot of rhetoric from Obama now, which is very re-electable rhetoric about jobs, about how they care for the American worker. I mean, it's all being, stirred up because that's the dialogue. That's the narrative he needs to stay in office 4 more years. But he's had 3 years in order to address this, and none of it's been addressed. None. Zero. More interested in golf. So what they'll do is they'll use this as part of their momentum. You see, now they're campaigning against the quote-unquote right. And Rush Limbaugh is an extension of the quote-unquote right. He's the representative of people like Mitt Romney or Newt Gingrich or Rick Santorum. And by taking Rush Limbaugh down, you've essentially taken down a piece of that machine. Now, most people don't know this, but there's really, only. Oh, my screen just went away. That was interesting. I have two monitors, and one of my monitors just went away. Wow. Let's do this. Yep. Wow, I think I just lost my big monitor. Interesting. That's what happens when you live in a house that's got a... There it is, back again. When you live in a house that's got a smart meter. Okay, I lost my train of thought. I'm going to go play some music. I'm going to do a pull Larry King. And I'm going to go in the kitchen, I'm going to make some coffee, and I'm going to try to wrap this up in a way that brings us closer together versus tears us further apart. Okay? So let me play a little music, and let me get my coffee going, and I'll be right back. So I'm going to play Sound Vibrations, and I'll be back in 5 minutes and 4 seconds.
One of nature's greatest wonders is the ability of the human ear to distinguish among the millions of sounds around us. Listen. You will hear later how these characteristics are determined by the frequency, intensity, and form of sound waves in the air. Recognize those sounds? Surely. Loudness and quality. It's these vibrations which your brain interprets as sound.
Well, that was perfect timing. I managed to go and boil some water. I do my coffee French press style, by the way, just in case you wanted to know about the inner workings of my life and my preferences. I drink French press coffee. Pretty elitist, isn't it? So I managed to do all that in 5 minutes. Back on time. It's going to be a good day, very good day. Okay, so all right, rounding up this rush thing and moving on. I feel like we're in the business of truth and waking up. And is this leading to people's awakening in any way, shape, or form? I certainly hope it does. But really, what will it ultimately do? It will take down a critic of the current administration and a supporter of the opposition party, and a very popular one at that. And it looks pretty darn convenient to me. So this is the way it is, man. This is the way it is in dirty politics. And I don't support the GOP. I think Mitt Romney is terrible. Look at his record. I've dissed Mitt Romney big time on this show before. I played the video of Mitt Romney and the people that worked in the factories at Bain Capital destroyed. He's going to bring back Michael Chertoff as the head of the Department of Homeland Security, the guy that started it. You think I want that? No. No way. So, who's this? It's my mother. You guys want to talk to my mother? Let's bring my mother on the show. Hold on. I've never done this before. Hey, Mom. Okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm on my radio show right now. I'm going to put you on my radio show. Hold on. Hey, Mom, say hello to everybody.
Hello, how are you?
Tell them what I was like when I was a kid, Mom.
Oh, you were a fantastic child. You were just wonderful. Full of vim and vigor, very smart, much smarter than a lot of the kids your age because you were an only child growing up. So around grown-ups a great deal.
And wasn't I an angel?
Oh, yes, just angel with wings.
All right, are you doing okay?
Sort of, yeah. I had a visit from our board president, and he's now next door. So I don't know how that's going to go out. I really don't know.
So just to let people,
today's a special day too.
Just to let people know, my mother had never lived on her own until my father passed away, which was 3 years ago today, right? 2 years ago today. And she's now got her own place, really nice little place, and she lives next to a fruitcake who is bipolar and suffers from vertigo and has a husband who's in intensive care all the time. You know,
now he's in
assisted living with Alzheimer's. So this woman she's in a world of hurt, and she's taking her aggression on my mother by playing what sounds to me like, you know, heavy duty techno music very loud late at night. And not even late at night, sometimes 7, 8 o'clock at night, and disturbing my mother's peace. So she's in this border skirmish with her neighbor, which is not good. So the guy went over there today?
Yeah, now I hear him talking to her outside of her unit, so who knows what she's saying? Who can tell? It may just turn into a real bad scene from here on out. I don't know.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'll call you after my show, okay?
Yeah, because I've got a problem here with my computer. I'm trying to find Firefox, but I can't.
Okay. Well, tell everybody goodbye and wish them a happy March 5th.
Well, I hope everybody enjoys the show and wish you a happy spring.
There we go.
Talking to you all.
All right.
Bye.
Love you, Mom. I'll call you soon. There we go. There's my mother. See, I have a mother. I'm not a reptile. I actually have a mother. Flesh and blood. She's going through a hard time. Really, really hard time with this woman. It's like, what do you do? You know, it's like she lives in this, adult community. It's like 55 and over community. And this woman's obviously not well. And she's vindictive as hell. She's the type of woman that leaves part of her drapes open at night or during the day just to peer outside and see who's coming and going, taking notes. I mean, she's certifiable, and she's got a thing for my mother now and wants to, make her life hell. And I don't like it, to be honest with you. I don't like it. Where's Facebook on that? Come on, Facebook, get behind my mother. Let's go after her neighbor. So, I've told my mother that if we have to, we need to call the cops. My mother is a sensitive person. She's a Pisces. She's so sensitive. She's lost weight over this thing. She hates conflict. She hates it. Anyway, 2 years ago today, my father passed away. It's just not a good day for her on some level. So, all right, it's 10:33. I'm about to have my first sip of coffee, and I'm going to go out in the world and find out what other news we have in the world today. Let's just see what's out there. Let's see what's happening that I can rant and riff on. Here we go. Let's see. Putin declares victory. He won 62% of the vote. Going to have 12 more years of Putin. How's that? Yep, 12 more years of Putin. That's not going away. Ron Paul, unimpressed with Limbaugh apology. Let's read this. Republican presidential hopeful Ron Paul expressed doubt on Sunday that conservative radio talk show host Rush Limbaugh truly meant it when he apologized for calling a law student a slut over her support for President Barack Obama's new policy on insurance coverage for contraceptives. I don't think he's very apologetic. He's doing it because some people were taking their advertisements off his program. Absolutely. It was his bottom line that he was concerned about, Paul told CBS Face the Nation. Yes, I think he should have apologized. I had said he used a very crude language, and he did. And I think he gets over the top at times, added Paul, known for his libertarian views. Limbaugh offered his apology to Georgetown University law student Sandra Fluke, 30, in a written statement on Sunday. My choice of words was not the best in the attempt to be humorous. I created a national stir. I sincerely apologize to Ms. Fluke for the insulting word choices. That's a pretty lame apology. I'd agree with Paul. That's pretty lame. I think it's an apology. It sucks. How's that? More than lame, it sucks. It's a bad apology. Bad apology. Controversy prompted Obama to call Fluke on Friday to express his support. You see where this is going? Several of Limbaugh's sponsors said they would stop advertising on his program following his remarks. Fluke was caught in an election year fight between Obama and Republicans over a policy that requires health insurance plans to cover contraception. Religious affiliated organizations, the Roman Catholic Church and social conservatives have protested the policy as an infringement on religious liberty. Fluke told a Democratic congressional hearing last month that female students at Georgetown, the oldest Catholic and Jesuit university in the country, suffered financial hardship because contraception was not covered by their health insurance. And some had stopped taking it because of the cost. If you can afford to go to Georgetown, you can't afford condoms? I mean, what else are we talking about here? The pill? God, That Georgetown is an elite university, and you can't afford condoms. I'm sorry. Maybe the guy should be responsible for birth control. How about that? And you say, well, some women don't like condoms. Okay, well, I guess it's birth control then. I don't know. I find it. I'm not dissing the fact. I'm looking at it from an economic perspective. You're going to one of the most prestigious universities in the country, and you can't afford birth control. Anyway, what does it say about the college co-ed fluke who goes before a congressional committee and essentially says that she must be paid to have sex? What does that make her? It makes her a slut, right? Makes her a prostitute. She wants to be paid to have sex. That's wrong. That's wrong. Sorry. That is wrong. It's wrong. I can't defend that. I can't defend it. But I am curious as to why somebody who goes to a prestigious school like Georgetown can't afford birth control. Now that, I think, is a more interesting question than the way that Rush came at this. Appearing on the NBC program Meet the Press, Republican presidential candidate Newt Gingrich said, well, I think it was appropriate for Rush to apologize, and I'm glad he apologized. But Gingrich added, I'm astonished at the desperation of the elite media to avoid rising gas prices, to avoid the president's apology to religious fanatics in Afghanistan, to avoid $1 trillion deficit, to avoid the longest unemployment since the Great Depression, and to suddenly decide that Rush Limbaugh is the great national crisis of this week. Wow, I'm sounding a little like Newt Gingrich. I'm not sure how I feel about that. Here's what I think. I think that there's some truth in what Gingrich has to say. And, you know, this is one of those moments in history where something stupid that somebody said is going to really benefit somebody in opposition camp in a very big way. So, well, Ron said he didn't really doesn't really believe his apology, and quite frankly, I read the apology. It's pretty lame. I'm with him. It's a lame apology. And by the way, Rush Limbaugh never really covers Ron Paul anyway, or what Ron Paul stands for. But shouldn't birth control be on the guy too? I mean, just think about that. I don't know. I frankly, here in California, I live in California, and in my liaisons with members of the opposite sex have only netted, I believe, one person in all the years that I have had consensual sex. Only one person I've ever run across used the pill. Only one. And they weren't even from California. Only one. So here it's a very different climate. You got to figure it out, right? And generally it falls upon the male here in California. I guess it's different in Washington, D.C. So this is kind of new to me, having to pay for contraception. Contraception is not that expensive from the male point of view, okay? It's not. And if it's on the male, then perhaps the female would not have to burden the cost of the contraception. Anyway, I've spent enough about this. And here's another Limbaugh update. Let me see this. It's basically a rehash of the same thing. All right, so what do we got coming ahead of us? Well, we have coming ahead of us, I think Obama is meeting with Netanyahu today. They're talking Iran and what they want to do. It's going to be very interesting. AIPAC just had their big rally this past weekend. And of course, Obama had to go in front of AIPAC and tell them, he'll do everything they want him to do without really coming out and saying that he'll do everything what he wants them to do. The relationship between Obama and Israel is interesting. I can't figure it out. Because there are times when it seems, very mazel tov. And there are other times when it is not very mazel tov. I'm not sure if any of you follow the Ulsterman report. But in the Ulsterman report, the Washington Insider, basically said that Obama was talking to somebody on the inside, and he said, fuck Israel. This is the Ulsterman report, okay? So I'm not sure if his ambivalence around this is where it comes from. I believe that Susan Rice, is it Susan Rice? No, it's Valerie Jarrett. Valerie Jarrett is Jewish, by the way. I don't know if you know that, but she is Jewish. And I think that the ambivalence or the antipathy towards Israel inside the administration it originates with her. This is what I've read. And Valerie Jarrett doesn't really hold any real position except as one of Obama's key advisors, which is why she sticks around, which is why she stays and Richard Daley's kid leaves. So I don't really quite understand the connection between the Obama administration and Israel. But I do know that I think that Obama has been trying to not jump into the frying pan with Iran. And if that's the case, to his credit, and we give the man those props. But then there are other people who say that, Barack Obama, and this is coming from the Jewish and the Israeli community, that he is the first Jewish president. You go look that up. That's on the internet. I'm not making that up. And that came from one of his staunch supporters and people that helped, pay for his election. And he surrounded himself with, his version of the neocons, which I would call the nuocons, people like David Axelrod and David Plouffe and Rahm Emanuel. These are all movers and shakers and players with strong ties to AIPAC, and especially with Emanuel, whose father belonged to Irgun, Israel itself. So it started off that way. I'm not sure where it is now. But I certainly hope that we avoid this catastrophe in the making with Iran. It's an absolute and utter catastrophe. You think gas prices are high now? Just wait. Zbigniew Brzezinski has said that the United States will be on the sidelines if Israel wants to go at Iran. We'll be here on the sidelines. That's what Brzezinski has said. Brzezinski matters. Trust me, he matters. He's a big brain behind a lot of what's happening in North Africa and the Middle East. So when he publicly says that the U.S. is going to go it alone, Israel's going to go it alone, probably a good chance of that. Do you think Israel wants to go it alone? I don't think they do. I don't think they do. I think that they'd be in for a fight that's a lot more that they want to take on. In spite of all the weaponry and all the intelligence and all the money that has gotten funneled into Israel over the past 30 years, Iran would be a very worthy foe. The last time Israel tried to do something, it was in Lebanon, and they didn't do too well. They did not do very well. They went in and they messed around in Beirut, and they kind of got their butt kicked, and they had to leave, and they could not, hold on to the territory that they were trying to grab. It was not a good skirmish for Israel. So if the Lebanese can give them a fight, what do you think the Iranians would be capable of? A hell of a lot more than that, trust me. Which is why, Israel wants the United States to come in and bring their firepower and just literally overwhelm Iran. I don't think it's going to happen. Although, there's always the specter of the false flag. And if the false flag happens, well, then people could be clamoring to go after Iran, just like they're clamoring to go after Rush Limbaugh. In which case, all bets are off. We're coming up on Purim, by the way, March 7th, 8th. So we're just a few days away from that. And if you know anything about Purim, it's when Esther essentially outed herself as being Jewish and created a lot of commotion in the kingdom of King Ahasuerus. It's a hard name to remember. Ahasuerus was the king that Esther had been betrothed to. What was really interesting about the whole Esther Ahasuerus piece is that the reason why Ahasuerus married Esther is because he was a drunken lout, and he was hanging out. There was a lot of these days of celebration. Basically, what they were just drunken orgies that went on for a long time. And he has buddies around, and I think his wife was, what was her name, Mashki, and she was his original wife, and he asked her to take her clothes off and dance for all of his buddies, and she wouldn't do it. Good for her. And he said, you're not my wife anymore. If you're not going to take your clothes off in front of my friends, you're not my wife. So he had his little beauty pageant, and he found this very attractive young woman who apparently agreed to do whatever he wanted to do. Her name was Esther. And Esther was Jewish. She did not let Ahasuerus know that she was Jewish. And her uncle was Mordecai. Mordecai was the guy who essentially watched the gate of the city. And Haman, who was Ahasuerus' right-hand man, did not like Mordecai. He didn't trust him. And they had Mordecai had disclosed that there was a plot against Ahasuerus' life. Now, I don't know whether that was a true thing, right? Was there a plot against Ahasuerus' life? I don't know. Maybe. Or maybe he just made it up so that he could curry favor with Ahasuerus. I don't know. But that's what happened. And Haman didn't like this Mordecai guy. He was going to go after him. He was going to hang him. He was going to hang a couple of other of Mordecai's pals. Mordecai went back to Ahasuerus, and Ahasuerus, and he told him, hey, your buddy Haman's going to do this to me. Because Ahasuerus was beholden to Mordecai for letting him know about this court intrigue, that the hanging gallows that were meant for Ahasuerus now became the hanging gallows for Haman. He hung Haman. And there was a decree that Ahasuerus is going to slaughter Jews in his kingdom. And that's when he found out that Esther was Jewish. She said, hey, I'm Jewish. How can you slaughter Jews when I'm your wife? He's like, oh, wow, you got a point there. Okay, I can't rescind a royal decree. So what I will allow is I will allow the Jews in my kingdom to defend themselves. So Mordecai, who was the keeper of the gate, remember this, keeper of the gate, took advantage of this. And in the dead of night, he opened the gate and he allowed outsiders into the kingdom, and those outsiders came in, overwhelmed the kingdom, and slaughtered 75,000 Persians. And this is Purim. And it's the only book in the Bible, the book of Esther, Old Testament, the only book in the Bible where there is no mention of God, by the way. So I got into this on in my newsletter, and I really broke this down in a very interesting way as I sort of delved into the whole Mordecai-Esther experience. If you get into Esther and Mordecai and you take the names apart, Esther is really an extension of Astarte. Esther is also Easter or Oester, but it's Astarte, and Mordecai is broken down into Marduk. And so what you have is Astarte and Marduk, and there's a whole lineage of mythology around Astarte and Marduk. And then it actually goes off planet and into the battle of light and dark in the cosmos. And then you have players like Sirius and Orion, Syria, Sirius, Orion, Iran, all getting played out in a much bigger cosmology. So while the story of Esther and Purim has a cultural and religious reverberation, it's also code. It's also code for something else. It's code for a galactic war in the heavens that gets played out here on this planet. And what we're seeing in Syria and Iran is an extension of that galactic war in the heavens. And we're coming up on Purim, so it's going to be interesting, for sure. It's going to be very, very interesting. Because who's the big player right now? Iran/Persia. And who shook her little booty at the Super Bowl? Madonna, a.k.a. Esther. That's her name. That's her Kabbalah name, Esther. Was Madonna/Esther invoking a war dance? Maybe. All right, it's 10:55, and I've come to the end of the show. And I hope I still have some listeners based on what I've shared with you today. And I'll be back on Friday. We're going to get into some divination on Friday. We're going to drop down. I'm going to do predictions on Friday. I haven't done predictions in a long time. And I was going to do them at the beginning of the year, but I chose to hold off for whatever reason. But we're going to get into some predictions on Friday. And maybe I'll bring on some other diviners, some divine diviners. So I want to thank everybody who has been in the chat room and has stayed with me from the very first time I started talking into this box to today, and from the time I turned on the box to right now, today. I want to thank you all for listening and being a part of this experience. It's a great honor for me and a privilege to be able to share my thoughts and my feelings in a way that somehow makes somebody entertained or enlightened or angry or inquisitive. It's a great privilege for me to do this. So use your head to discern what's real, your heart to stay open to what's possible. I'm going to play a little anime, Ari Oakland. I'll see you on Friday.
I walked in the room and all the voices hit my face, conversations raging, but I just can't relate. And then the man with the crooked grin tells me all the spin and what I'm missing in my life. And I say, am I alone here in a context so unclear? Cause I don't know what is what and why is why. And the truth is that the enemy is the real tragedy. And the truth is that the enemy Don't tell me ignorance is bliss, cause that's just selfishness, as we don't exist in a state of perpetual happiness. You worry about your clothes and your affairs, cash, but baby, don't you know in the end we'll all be dust and ash. Yeah, we'll all die and we'll all cry and we'll all live for a better day. And the truth is that the enemy is the real tragedy. And the truth is that the enemy is the real tragedy. Yeah, I raise my hands up to the sky, stare and wonder and begin to sigh. And they'll say, what a life. Oh, lan dan dim dam no, lan dan dim dam said, no sir. Lan dam dim dam do, lan dam dim dam said, no sir. I was disconnected from everything I knew as apathy grew into a jaded view of progress. And even under the light of the revealing sun, all the foresight in the world can